Hello everyone! Today I will be telling you about a famous bank heist that took place in France in 1976. This is considered the most valuable bank heist in France during the 20th century. It was the robbery of the Société Générale Bank with a total value of up to 50 million francs. There was a man named Albert Spaggiari, often referred to as Bert. He was born in 1932 in Laragne-Montégelin, southeastern France. His parents were Italian immigrants, and his father passed away when he was just 3 years old. Afterward, he moved to live in the southern coastal town of Hyères with his mother. There, his mother opened a lingerie shop, and shortly after decided to remarry. Bert grew up under the care of his mother and stepfather. As a teenager, Bert had already developed a habit of stealing. Whenever he saw something he liked, he couldn't resist taking it. There were even times when he gave his stolen goods to the girl he loved. Because he hated his stepfather, Bert ran away from home to join the army at the age of 17. He joined the paratroopers and was deployed to Vietnam, where he was wounded twice. In 1953, at the age of 21, Bert broke into a milk store in Hanoi to steal, but was caught. He was sent back to France and imprisoned. Bert was later sent to Africa, where he joined a group called the OAS. This was a short-lived right-wing French paramilitary group during the Algerian War, and he was incarcerated again for his involvement in the organization. After his release from prison, Bert yearned for a fresh start. In 1968, the 36-year-old Bert and his wife moved to Nice, a Mediterranean coastal city in southeastern France. Nice is a crucial economic hub in the south of France. When Bert and his wife arrived in Nice, they bought an old country house on a hill and renovated it. Here he opened a poultry farm, raising chickens and ducks, while his wife worked as a nurse at a hospital in Nice. Their family lived a peaceful life there for many years. By 1976, at the age of 44, he opened a photography studio in Nice. Bert was a sharp dresser with a passion for fashion, and through his talent and charm, he attracted many wealthy clients. After a few years, the photography studio was doing exceptionally well, providing him with a comfortable middle-class lifestyle. However, he remained dissatisfied with his current life, still yearning to make even more money. One day, Bert went to a bar in Nice and happened to overhear two patrons discussing bank safes. This immediately piqued Bert's interest. He carefully eavesdropped on their entire conversation. As it turned out, there were thousands of safe deposit boxes stored in the underground vault of the Société Générale Bank branch in Nice. Many wealthy individuals rented safes there, making it a repository for some of the most valuable items in Europe. Upon hearing this, Bert's eyes lit up. That day, after returning home, he lay in bed, unable to sleep. He thought to himself that if he could just get his hands on a few of those bundles from the safes, he would become the richest man in France. That was his ultimate dream. Therefore, he began formulating a plan in his head. The best way to know what the inside of the underground bank vault looked like was to see it with his own eyes. So Bert went to the bank and sought out the manager. He rented a safe deposit box under a fake identity. Thanks to this, the manager escorted him down to the underground vault for a viewing. He observed that the underground vault featured a massive circular door with a complex electronic lock, and its incredibly thick door and walls gave the bank immense confidence. They believed the vault was impenetrable and that no one could enter unless they knew the door's combination. Once inside, what appeared before his eyes were countless safe deposit boxes densely packed together. Each safe corresponded to a number. The highest number was over 4,000, meaning there were more than 4,000 safes inside the vault. Bert discovered that while the exterior of the vault was highly secured, the interior seemed to lack significant security measures. Bert figured that attempting to enter through the front door was impossible, and he was nowhere near figuring out the vault's combination lock. If he could access the vault without going through the door, he could take the treasures without being detected. But how could that be accomplished? Bert recalled a novel he had read titled The Heist: How to Rob a Bank, published in 1972. The book detailed a method of robbing a bank through the city's sewer system. After Bert left the bank, he paced back and forth on the dusty adjacent street. After walking a few hundred meters, he spotted several manhole covers on the ground. This meant there were numerous underground water pipes beneath the surface near the bank. Bert thought that perhaps he could actually infiltrate the bank's vault through the sewers, just like in the novel. To prove this theory, Bert disguised himself as a construction contractor and went to City Hall. There, he managed to obtain the sewer blueprints for the area surrounding the bank. During this time, no one questioned his actions because those maps were public records and could be obtained as long as a valid reason was provided. Next, at midnight, when no one was watching, he went to open a manhole cover on the street and climbed down to scout the situation. Bert spent a week exploring the nearby sewers. And sure enough, he found one of the sewer lines positioned very close to the bank's vault. Let's take a look at the map of the area together. Here is the bank where the underground vault is located. About 200 meters south of the bank lies the famous Place Masséna in Nice. Bert found a manhole cover in the square. Once you descend, you reach the drainage sewer. Continuing north along one of the sewer lines, you arrive at a location extremely close to the bank vault. After making his calculations, Bert realized that the depth of the bank's vault was roughly on par with the elevation of the sewer line. Furthermore, that specific area was less than 10 meters away from the vault's interior wall. This made the idea of digging a tunnel into the vault highly practical. However, there could be other complications during actual execution. For instance, breaking through the vault walls would undoubtedly generate significant noise, thus running the risk of being discovered. To verify the feasibility of this approach, Bert placed an alarm clock inside his rented safe deposit box and set it to go off at midnight. Afterward, he stood near the bank to observe whether the alarm ringing would trigger the bank's security system and if the police would be called. The time hit 0001. To his surprise, nothing happened after midnight. The reason was that the vault's walls were incredibly thick. The soundproofing was so effective that no noise could escape. This made Bert realize that the vault, dubbed the most secure in Nice, wasn't exactly impenetrable. He had found a loophole, and his plan was increasingly becoming a viable reality. However, he knew that such a grand scheme couldn't be pulled off alone. Therefore, he began searching for people to work alongside him. Bert recruited 20 like-minded individuals from the OAS organization he had previously been a part of, each bringing their own unique strengths. Some were skilled at tunneling, some at cutting through metal, some at appraising jewelry, and others at cooking. Bert brought these men together and orchestrated the secret plan over several months. Each member of the team was assigned a highly specific role. And then on a day in April 1976, they sprang into action. The team members had a very clear division of labor. Some were in charge of standing guard outside, while others handled logistics. The rest, led by Bert, opened the manhole cover in the square and entered the underground sewer system late at night when no one was around. The underground sewers of Nice unraveled before their eyes. Not only were there filthy, foul-smelling intersections, but the pathways were also an intricate maze. Anyone would certainly get lost coming down here for the first time. But Bert had mapped out the exact route well in advance. They quickly reached the location closest to the bank's underground vault. Before the actual digging commenced, they needed to resolve the issue of their power supply. So they dragged a long cable down to the excavation site. The cable was secretly spliced into the city's power grid. Along with it came lighting systems and a few compact tools. They chose these specifically because they didn't generate much noise. Afterward, they carved a hole into the sewer wall. From there, they continuously tunneled their way straight toward the bank's vault. To prevent the tunnel from collapsing, they reinforced each section with reinforced concrete. Bert was incredibly strict with his crew. He instructed everyone to abstain from alcohol and coffee and mandated a full 10 hours of sleep before starting a shift. Only by adhering to this could they guarantee maximum work efficiency. At that pace, they dug continuously for 2 months. Finally, they reached the outer wall of the vault. The completed tunnel was 8 meters long, 80 centimeters wide, and 130 centimeters high, just enough for a person to crawl through. Everything was proceeding smoothly and exactly according to plan. For the past 2 months, no one had grown suspicious of their frequent trips in and out of the sewers. The next step was simply waiting for the final perfect moment to strike. Bert knew that Monday through Friday were regular banking hours. Every day during that window, clients would be accessing their safes, meaning the vault door would constantly open and close. Saturday and Sunday were the bank's days off, and the vault remained closed to the public. With no one else in the building besides the security guards striking over the weekend, was the most logical choice. Bert noted that it was currently approaching July 14th. This was Bastille Day, France's national holiday. Consequently, people needing to use their safe deposit boxes would usually handle their affairs before that date. Following the holiday, customer foot traffic would drop significantly. A few days after the national holiday was the weekend. Therefore, that specific time frame would represent the bank's weakest point in security. Thus, Bert decided to execute their final move on the weekend of the Bastille Day week. So would Bert's team successfully break in and escape from the underground vault unscathed. What was waiting for them inside next? Let's rewind the clock back to July 16th, 1976. On July 16th, 1976, which was a Friday, Bert and his 20-man crew were ready to breach the vault. They commenced operations a few hours after the bank had closed its doors. They entered the tunnel and bored a hole about 60 centimeters in diameter through the vault's inner wall. Then, one by one, the team members stepped into the vault. Before their eyes lay more than 4,000 safe deposit boxes. Upon entering, they immediately proceeded to weld the heavy vault door shut from the inside. This ensured that even if they were detected, anyone on the outside wouldn't be able to enter quickly. This would buy the crew ample time to slip away safely. There were also team members waiting outside the bank. It looked dangerous, but they had their escape routes meticulously prepared. The group joyously celebrated inside the vault. Yet those outside could hear absolutely nothing. After a brief moment of frenzy, they got down to business. Even though they had made it inside, the doors to each individual safe were incredibly thick. It took a considerable amount of time to crack open just one safe, and they only had a single weekend to do it. Over those few days, they systematically busted open safes filled with gold, silver, diamonds, jewelry, cash, and other highly valuable items. They even brought along a portable stove and food to eat right on the spot. Because human stamina is limited, they only managed to crack open just over 300 of the 4,000-plus safes before making their successful getaway. By Monday, July 19th, a bank employee arrived for work in the morning as usual. Following routine protocol, he was supposed to go down to the vault, retrieve some cash, and transport it to the teller drawers on the first floor. However, today, things were a little different. The employee was absolutely certain he had entered the correct code, but the vault door refused to budge. Seeing that business hours were approaching and the vault was stuck shut. Therefore, the employee reported the issue to his superiors. The bank quickly contacted the vault doors manufacturer. A locksmith promptly arrived on the scene. Yet after struggling for a while, the door still wouldn't open. Nearing noon, the bank's senior management made the decision to force the door open so as not to disrupt their clients' business operations. Consequently, the crew brought out their heavy tools and began breaking down the massive door. After several hours, they finally managed to get inside, and the scene before their eyes was one they would never forget. Hundreds of safe deposit boxes were thrown haphazardly across the floor, completely emptied of their contents. The vault had been robbed, so they immediately called the police. Shortly after the police arrived at the scene, graffitied on one of the vault walls was a short message: "Without weapons, without hatred, without violence." Those words were left by Bert as he departed. It was blatantly clear that he was taunting the police and showing off his completed masterpiece. Investigators also found a portable stove, empty food packaging, and dirty pots and plates. This indicated that the crew of thieves had cooked meals on site and worked continuously down there. In the corner of the vault wall, there was a carved hole measuring about 60 centimeters in diameter. Beyond the hole lay a tunnel with slightly more spacious dimensions. The total length of the tunnel was 8 meters, inside of which police discovered chisels, axes, electric drills, gas cylinders, and dozens of other excavation tools. Following the tunnel led straight to the drainage sewer, which eventually exited through a manhole 200 meters away. Immediately afterward, the incident dominated headlines across Europe. Goods valued at approximately 50 million francs had been stolen from what was touted as the most secure underground vault in France. Upon hearing the news, clients utilizing the bank's safe deposit services across Europe were in absolute shock. The revelation left them fraught with anxiety. They gathered outside the bank vault, nervously awaiting updates. Everyone desperately hoped that the safes the thieves had breached didn't belong to them. Because the culprits had worn gloves during the heist, no fingerprints were left at the scene, and at that time, DNA technology didn't exist. Consequently, it was exceedingly difficult for the police to track down the perpetrators. 3 months passed, and the investigation saw zero progress. It seemed as though Bert's plan was flawless, but the police managed to uncover a new lead regarding the tools left behind at the scene. That crucial piece of evidence was the chisel. A police officer recalled a prior incident. They had once pulled over a man named Daniel for a traffic stop. He had a criminal record. At that time, the officers discovered several specialized chisels meant for piercing reinforced concrete in the trunk of his car. They looked quite similar to the one left behind at the crime scene. Connecting the dots, the police immediately raided Daniel's home and found a number of other tools inside. Some of these tools had traces of dirt clinging to them. Forensic testing revealed that the soil's composition was identical to the dirt beneath the vault. Shortly after, the police arrested Daniel for questioning. On June 25, 1977, exactly a year after the heist, police arrested Bert on suspicion of burglary. However, he steadfastly refused to plead guilty and concurrently declined to reveal the whereabouts of the stolen assets. The next thing awaiting him was his trial. In prison, Bert met a fellow inmate. The man greatly admired Bert after hearing tales of his exploits. Thus, Bert struck a deal with him. If he could help him escape, he would receive a very handsome reward. The prisoner agreed to assist him. Because his offense was minor, the inmate was allowed to receive visitors. During that time, he asked a friend on the outside to pick Bert up at a designated time and place. At that time, Bert had become a star in France. Every week, he was escorted to the judge's office, and each appearance attracted a large crowd of trailing reporters. The judge sought him out, hoping he would voluntarily confess. Since both witnesses and physical evidence were fully secured, an early guilty plea could result in a lighter sentence. The judge's office was located on the 3rd floor of the courthouse. The windows of the office faced the street. Having visited this office multiple times, Bert was familiar with the surroundings and harbored intentions of escaping through its window. Bert noticed that although the office windows overlooked the street, the judge sat with his back facing them. If you wanted to open the window and escape, you absolutely had to walk past the judge. and if you tried to force your way out, you would undoubtedly be stopped. So if it were you, what would you do next? Bert came up with a plan. That day, the judge summoned him to the office again for a talk. The difference from previous times was that he displayed a highly cooperative attitude. This was what the judge observed. Meanwhile, the roaring sound of a motorcycle engine drifted in from the window. This was their prearranged signal, meaning, "I'm in position, I'm ready." Upon receiving the code, Bert pulled a hand-drawn map from his pocket and handed it to the judge. The map contained various drawings and lines resembling buildings and sewer routes. The judge assumed this might be the reference map Bert had used to commit the crime. Consequently, the judge proceeded to examine the map meticulously. However, there were no explanatory notes on the hand-drawn picture. The judge stared at it for a long while, but still couldn't comprehend its contents. All of this was Bert intentionally playing tricks. He deliberately made the drawing confusing so he could get closer to the judge to explain it. But his true objective was to inch closer to the window situated behind the judge. Suddenly, Bert swiftly opened the window while the judge was carefully scrutinizing the map. Before the judge could even react, Bert quickly leaped out of the window. He used a car parked below as a cushion before dropping to the ground. Then he hopped onto the waiting motorcycle and sped off. The judge, unable to react in time, could only watch Bert flee. Bert's jump left a dent in the roof of the parked car. A few days later, the owner of that vehicle received a check for 5,000 francs from Bert. This was compensation for the damage Bert had caused to his car. It came from the man who pulled off the biggest heist in 20th century France. Although the suspect, Bert, had escaped the court, proceeded with the trial as planned, and Bert was sentenced to life in prison. Bert's story became a legend. Such a plotline had actually transpired in real life. Rumor has it that Bert underwent plastic surgery after his escape. Afterward, he fled to Argentina and lived a life of anonymity. The police engaged in a series of pursuits, but they never managed to catch him. Fast forward to June 1989, 13 years after the incident. Finally, word of Bert surfaced. He had died of throat cancer in Argentina at the age of 56. According to Bert's own wishes, his body was returned to his homeland of France for burial. Aside from Bert, the other individuals involved in the case also fled in different directions. It wasn't until 2010 that the police finally tracked everyone down. But by then, the statute of limitations for criminal prosecution under French law had expired, meaning they couldn't be criminally charged. The massive fortune stolen remains unrecovered to this day. As for where that money went and how it was divided, perhaps only they know. Today's video ends here. And I'll see you all in the next videos. Goodbye.